and weather coming up next. Mark.
如梦似幻，合掌村，新穗高双层缆车上，银白森林映入眼帘，头顶白雪，猿猴在地狱谷温泉里红了脸，冬雪灿灿，凝结金泽兼六园奇景，荣获金子旅游奖肯定，遨游合掌村，品冠旅游。
Take journeys and create memories. Award-winning vacations with PK Travel.
We're ICRT, FM 100, Taipei, Taichung, and Kaohsiung. Your news, Taiwan and the world.
Good afternoon, it's 4 o'clock. I'm Nancy Sun with the top of the hour news. In Taiwan news, Yilan is scrambling to make its beaches safer. There have been 6 accidental drownings and 1 person lost at sea there in the last 2 days. In a bid to stop further accidents, Yilan officials say that starting as early as tomorrow, beaches will be closed off to visitors for 10 days. During that time, they will try to figure out new measures to prevent more accidents from happening in the future. Possible measures include more warning signs and the establishment of first aid stations at beaches. They are also calling on businesses not to engage in illegal operations, such as unlicensed ATV rentals. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is closely monitoring our ties with the African ally Eswatini. MOFA officials say it is also observing the 2-day forum in China-Africa cooperation that kicked off in Beijing yesterday, with Chinese President Xi Jinping promising $60 billion of aid to African countries. Leaders or representatives from 53 African countries participated in the forum, where Eswatini was not invited. The MOFA admits that Eswatini, of course, would feel the pressure from China, saying that Taiwan will do everything in its power to strengthen relations with the African country. MOFA says 7 Taiwanese businesses have participated in the international trade show from August 31st to September 10th in Eswatini. MOFA's budget for international cooperation and care has also increased by 2% to 1.4 billion NT compared with last year. In international news, Brazilian President Michel Temer says public and private banks and companies have agreed to help rebuild the National Museum that caught fire. The statement comes as questions are being raised over the institution's precarious financial situation leading up to the devastating fire that appears to have gutted the museum. The museum's director says it is not yet possible to detail what was lost. The cause of the fire is still unknown, but Brazilian officials are blaming a lack of funding. Museum officials also say due to the lack of funding, warnings from experts of a serious fire risk to the building went unaddressed. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma explains.
The museum, which houses artifacts from Egypt, Greco-Roman art and some of the first fossils found in Brazil, was closed to the public at the time of the fire, which broke out Sunday evening. A spokesman for the fire department says around 80 firefighters had battled the blaze and that by midnight local time it was just about under control. There had been no reports of injuries and it wasn't immediately clear how the fire began. The spokesman said his team, with the help of museum workers, had been able to remove a lot of pieces from inside the blazing building. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Meanwhile, Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte has voided an amnesty given to a former rebel military officer and ordered the arrest of the now senator, who has been one of the president's fiercest critics. Senator Antonio Trillanes IV spoke today in the Senate to condemn Duterte's move against him as illegal and draconian, but he added that he will not resist arrest. Duterte signed a proclamation last week voiding the 2011 amnesty because Trillanes failed to comply with all the amnesty requirements, including a clear admission of his involvement in past coup attempts. Justice officials say law enforcers can enforce Duterte's arrest order anytime. And high winds and heavy rain whipped the Japanese cities of Kobe and Osaka and surrounding areas as a powerful typhoon made landfall, disrupting train service and air travel. Typhoon Jebi was heading north across part of Japan's main island of Honshu towards the Sea of Japan. The storm had sustained winds of 160 kilometers per hour, with gusts of up to 215 kilometers per hour. More than 700 flights have been canceled, according to Japanese media tallies. High-speed bullet train service was suspended from Tokyo west to Hiroshima. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe canceled a scheduled trip to Kyushu, Japan's southernmost main island, to oversee the government's response to the typhoon. Japan's Kyodo News Service says it was the strongest typhoon to make landfall in Japan since 1993. And now back here in Taiwan and looking at the weather across the island this afternoon, we can expect mostly clear skies in most regions, but partly cloudy skies over Taipei, New Taipei, and Nantou, and occasional afternoon thundershowers in Pingtung County. Current temperatures now, Taipei 35, Taichung 34, and Kaohsiung and Hualien both 31. That was the ICRT News at 4 with me, Nancy Sun.
以上 ICRT 整点新闻由美国的专家 Masons 美城移民赞助。
I got this. Wait. Hi, everybody. Oh, is it working? Hi, and welcome to the afternoon newscast, the 4 p.m. afternoon newscast, but we are also Facebook Living it. Hi to Bai Yue and Sam Wu. Oh, Bai Yue likes my water bottle. Ha ha ha. Yeah, I figured if it looks nice, then I'll drink more water. Irene Young, hi. We're just going to try to add Leslie to the conversation. In case you haven't joined us before, this is the part of the newscast and on Facebook where we listen to the cast and then talk about a little bit of the news afterwards, especially the most important Taiwan stories and the most important international stories. An Shiping and Liao Anting. And okay, there's Leslie to read the Chinese names.
Let me see really quickly. I like your water bottle too.
Yay!
Cai Youlin, sorry. And we have Liao Anting, yes. And we have Joy Chang. And we have Liao Anting saying, hi, Nancy, nice to see you. You are so pretty.
You are like my favorite listener.
Oh, my
all
goodness.
Right. Okay, all right.
How many times are you going to say that? Hi, May, how's it going?
Favorites.
Good to see ya.
Yeah. So
Albert Jackson, pleasure.
Thank you for joining us, everybody. So let's just go over two of the main stories for today, and we'll start with what's happening in Taiwan.
Mm-hmm.
This story is actually happening over the past 2 days, and it's happening in northeastern Taiwan, up in Yilan and Suao and those areas. If you haven't heard yet, there's been a lot of accidental drownings and reports of people being swept out to sea, and it all happened over a very short period of time, and it was like one after the other. It happened so quickly that, like, when we were writing the news, we started getting confused because we said, well, the story came out like hours ago. Why are we coming out the same story? So I think now in total it's been 8 people swept out to sea.
I thought it said 6.
It said 6, but I'm looking at the latest updates and the numbers don't add up. Okay, so just to give you a kind of a timeline, this started on September 2nd, so the day before yesterday, which is Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So this was an ATV-related accident, all-terrain vehicles. These people were driving the vehicles on the beach, and then they were swept out to sea. 5 people were swept out. 1 is still missing, 4 are dead.
Oh, no.
So it's a total of 5 people. And then that was in the afternoon. And then an hour later, another incident happened nearby in Suao. And that was a little girl falling into the water. And then a man she managed to make it back to shore. She was kind of swept back ashore. And the man who jumped in to save her or to try to help actually never came back.
Oh, my goodness.
That was another one. And then an hour later after that, a mother and a son were also swept out to sea. And this was at the same beach as the ATV vehicles. And then the next day, 11 o'clock in the morning, there was another report of a woman who drowned in that area. So Bai Yue says rogue waves. Yeah. Yeah, and Samu's right. It happens every single summer. But apparently this time the weather and the weather was especially unstable and the waves were especially unstable because of Typhoon Jebi, which kind of passed by Taiwan earlier and is on its way to Japan. So it definitely affected weather patterns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, earlier this week earlier this season, and as they do every year, the fire department did tell people to be careful when they are going to like riverbeds and rivers and going to the beach.
Right.
And this is exactly the reason why they do it every year. It's because unfortunately people do get swept out to sea.
Yeah.
And people do get taken away by rogue waves, especially during rainy season.
Yeah.
And you know, it's also it's a local superstition because right now it's the 鬼月, it's Ghost Month.
Yeah, I think Ghost Month technically ends this Sunday, or they close the portal, the door this Sunday, but it's part of local belief. But I think one of the reasons that this particular beach, these two particular beaches get so much attention is like if you do a little bit of research, you'll see that similar news stories come up every couple of years or even once a year. And that's because these particular beaches in northeast Taiwan, they are a special kind of beach. So basically, especially for one of them is called Neipi Beach in Suao. And also mysterious beach, 神秘海滩 or 神秘沙滩. What happens is like it looks like it's really level, and then it looks like a nice flat beach, and then once you get about 10 meters out into the water, it drops. So you can't see it from the surface because it's all water. But if you try to walk along the bottom, so to speak, it just drops like a cliff. And then from the drop, then it becomes like 100 meters deep, 300 meters deep. And what happens is when the waves, especially when the weather is like a little bit crazy like this, the big waves will come in and then it hits the shore and then it creates like a backdraft or a back pull on the water. And then you could easily get caught up in that and then swept out to really deep oceans. So that's why these things happen in these beaches. And there's actually a lot of signs posted in those areas, but everybody wants to go where there aren't a huge amount of people, there aren't huge crowds nearby, and so unfortunately it keeps happening.
And this last one, what Yilan says is they just want to put up more signs and have more first aid stations.
Well, they're talking about what they can do. We all know that, having a first aid station is not going to help if somebody's drowning, but in case there's an accident, possibly. And a lot of people also think, well, more signs, there are already signs there. So it might just be a case of, educating the public and letting enough people know this is what the beach looks like under the water. And it's dangerous. So the beaches they're talking about, 南方澳内僻 Beach, 东澳蜂鸟林 Beach, and then 南澳的神秘 Beach, which is the one we talked about. And actually, a couple of the news stories also mentioned 七星潭 in Hualien, which is also super popular with tourists. I've been there like multiple times, but they also say that is one of those beaches where it's a little bit further out, 20 meters out into the water. There's that big drop, and then it's hundreds of meters deep. So something to be aware of.
Good to keep in mind. I'm thinking about going there next month.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry, and one of these stories, like we mentioned, also involves ATV vehicles. And so the government is considering what to do about this as well, because these ATV vehicles, the businesses are not actually legal operators. So there's going to be,
consequences.
Probably a government crackdown. Yeah.
What about was the situation where the ATV led to people getting swept out to sea? Was that the business owner who rented them the ATVs unlicensed?
The business owner was unlicensed, and then the coach who was actually taking some people out, he was also swept out to sea and hasn't come back. So,
my goodness.
And the reason that was such an issue, like you wouldn't think, because you would think, oh well, it's an all-terrain vehicle driving on a beach. How did they get swept out? Well, that beach is very narrow and it's also difficult terrain. So a lot of people who do rent out these vehicles say people like to take those vehicles there to try it out and to kind of like challenge the terrain, right? But the problem is that you get a lot of rogue waves there, and like I said, there's that steep drop, and then the actual width of the beach is only about like 3 meters wide in some places. And so if you're passing through and there's on the vehicle and there's a rogue wave, it could could potentially just like
sweep you out.
Yeah, sweep over the whole beach and just pull you out. So that's something to be aware of.
Yeah. So be very, very careful. Everybody needs to be careful, man. I mean, it feels like every year you're just like, oh, the fire department sent out a warning, but that's not gonna happen to me. And
people who go up into the mountains too to like climb or hike or whatever when it's raining and when there's like mudslides, that's also so dangerous. And people who go there to look at the waves because it's beautiful during a typhoon or right before.
Well, there's people who go surfing during typhoon, and just because they can get bigger waves. Yeah. That's just really insane. Dangerous. Like, you think these things won't happen to you, but then next thing you know, it does.
It only takes one time. Yeah. I'm completely like risk phobic. So
Bayer says the beaches are nice and easy most of the time, but came out of nowhere. Rogue waves come and go in a sec. That's very true.
So true.
And especially if you're in like the river. If you're in the riverbed and you're just like everything's okay, but it's raining up at the mountains, and all of a sudden that's what we call a flash flood, right? When the water from up there just all of a sudden rushes down. That's how people also get swept away.
Yeah, and that's a huge problem in Taiwan because Taiwan has like a really sharp drop in elevation. So when it's coming off the mountain, it'll come down really, really fast, and it gets out to the ocean really fast. So you think, oh, I'll see it coming, or the water will start rising gradually. You don't have time. You don't have time. Ooh,
Samu says red clothes.
Saying some really scary stuff.
红衣小女孩. But that's only if you go up in the mountains, and then you know.
That's a thing.
You see, it's an urban legend about, you're up in the mountains and then you see this little girl wearing red following you, and like the next few days, like it's like think about like The Ring.
No.
It's like you have 7 days after you see the red clothed girl.
I watched the trailer for the Western version of The Ring, and I couldn't sleep for 2 weeks. The trailer. I didn't even watch the movie.
Imagine what happens if you watch the movie. All right, let's go to the next one, which is also another
related
water related
news story. Yeah, and it's actually also caused by Typhoon Jebi. So like we said, all these things were caused by the outer rings of Typhoon Jebi affecting weather in Taiwan. But the actual typhoon itself is currently over Japan.
Okay.
It made landfall earlier today, and it passed over Kobe and Osaka, which is like central, a little bit southern Japan. And it went like that, and now it's over Japan, and it's going like that.
Well, this thing is how many typhoons has Japan had to endure this year? Like,
it's the 24?
Everything has went to Japan.
Yeah, I know.
All the typhoons have gone to Japan.
It's been a really rough season.
Yeah.
Julianne Chu says, no, Leslie, stop.
She's talking about the red girl.
Sorry, past topic. So Japan has been having a really rough time. Actually, just in July, they had so much rainfall that it caused a lot of flooding and mudslides, and over 200 people were killed by related accidents and whatnot. And so now it's hitting Japan. Typhoon Jebi is hitting Japan. No reports of injuries or deaths so far. But they're waiting on reports of like flooding and mudslides, and they're saying that it could potentially also cause high tides, lightning, and even tornadoes.
Tornadoes. Lightning doesn't usually happen with typhoons.
Yeah.
So what is this, a category? Is it a super typhoon?
It's not a super typhoon. Let me see. Sustained winds of 160 kilometers per hour, gusts 215. It's not strong enough to be a super typhoon yet.
Okay.
But it is affecting the weather. 700 flights, domestic and international, have been canceled. That includes flights to and from to Taiwan. So if you're flying out to Japan today, you might want to double check.
Well, what they said is this is the worst typhoon Japan has seen in like 20 years.
Yeah, 25 years, since 1993.
Oh, yeah.
So that is a big deal. It's not going to hit Tokyo directly, but it is going to, affect the weather as well. So, I actually saw a video on CNN, and it was a photo released by the Japanese Coast Guard, and it was an 89-meter-long tanker, which is a fuel tanker, like a huge ship that holds fuel, and then it was blown by the wind into a bridge connecting one part of the island to the Kansai airport. The Kansai airport's completely flooded. So it's actually just like a huge tanker, and the chimney part of it, or the smokestack part of it, or whatever, is just embedded in the bridge. So
have you ever seen that movie Day After Tomorrow?
Yes.
Where the big boat just comes down through the flooded New York? That's what I'm thinking about right now.
Not in the city, but definitely surreal.
Yeah, that's insane.
Anyway,
that's insane.
So
all right, let's do the fun part. of this.
Okay. So Leslie and I started this thing a couple episodes back, and then we kind of
stopped doing
it for a while.
Well, it's because there was big news.
Yes.
Like El Salvador hit us.
Yes.
And then between that and then there was more flooding with the big rain.
Yes.
We had to cover that.
That is true.
So, you know, the news comes first.
Yep.
News comes first.
But we got time now.
Yes, we do.
Time.
Yes,
okay.
we do.
Do you want to ask first? Or
Okay. So here's how it works. Me and Nancy have thought up of 3 questions. Any questions that we can ask each other.
Thought-provoking, articulate questions.
Yes. And you guys are going to get to hear the answer. And if you guys like what you hear, you know, hit like or you know, you'd be like, oh, wow, Nancy, wow, you're like that?
Oh,
okay.
my God. What, Nancy?
All right, Nancy.
Okay.
So who would like to go first? Ladies first. Why don't you?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. First question. Fate or free will? It's not that hard.
Free will, definitely. I am a dreamer. I am a dreamer. So I believe that we have free will, but unfortunately we can only take one path, so that gives us the illusion of fate.
What do you mean if you can only take one path and you don't have free will?
No, that's the thing. We as people only get to experience one path, right?
Oh, but
so the thing is, that's why we think we're fated to do anything. We think.
So you make choices within that path.
Yeah. Well, like you make choices within that path, but if you ever come down A or B, right, and down that pathway, you can only choose one. And and because you can only choose one, you're just I'm fated to go down the A path. But you chose A.
Oh, I see.
You chose A.
Okay.
At the same time.
This is supposed to be a 30-second question.
Okay,
a 30-second answer.
We're done.
Okay. Green Chen says it's better to stay indoors during strong winds and heavy rain. It's so true.
Well, people like to go to like KTV and watch movies during typhoon days, and that's just not smart.
Honestly, I've done that when I was in high school and university. I'm sorry, but
Nancy.
now I know better.
Nancy. Okay.
Go, Leslie. Go.
You asked all 3
all
years.
The questions? Okay. Yeah. Okay. What is the most embarrassing piece of clothing you own?
I have a bright pink.
That's embarrassing.
Well, it's like bubble gum. It's like bright pink, yellow, green, white shirt, and it's this like.
Wait! All the colors on one shirt?
Yeah.
I thought you were listing like different
they're
colors.
like mini stripes. They're all striped on that shirt, and I look like bubble gum.
You have to wear it for our next episode.
No.
He's like, no.
If we get, let's say 200 likes on this video, I'll wear this shirt. All right?
Julianne Chu says
do not knock at the pineapple shirt. The pineapple shirt is a wonderful shirt.
I like the pineapple.
I love the pineapple shirt.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, next one.
Conclusion: Leslie owns multiple pieces of embarrassing clothing. Okay, final question. A portal to another world opens up in front of you. You don't know how long it'll stay open or if you can come back. Do you go?
What's it look like?
I don't know.
What color is it?
I don't know.
All this is important in my decision-making process.
Well, you can't see the other side.
Well, like what color? If it's orange, then it's like fire. So I'm walking through to hell. So I'm not gonna go. If it's blue, then I'll be like, maybe.
The portal is rainbow colors.
Yeah, what can be so wrong on the other side of a rainbow?
It could be like a land
portal?
of unicorns and cotton candy.
That's what I'm thinking of when I see a rainbow portal.
Okay, all right then.
Now on you is thank you, Sam.
Yes,
see,
it's a very nice color.
Look at this.
Yes.
I think Gavin has this shirt.
Ew.
I've seen Gavin wear this shirt before. Exact same one. Okay, was that?
Yeah, that was it.
That was all 3?
So you would go.
Depending on the color. Rainbow colored portal, yes. Hellfire portal, no.
No, gotcha.
And if sound's coming through it, like if I hear screams, forget it, I'm not going.
All right.
But if I hear happy sounds,
harp music,
I'm going in.
All right.
Okay. Let's go. So, Nancy, if you could eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Cheese.
Cheese?
So many different types of cheeses.
Aren't you lactose intolerant though?
No, well, I don't know. I haven't eaten so much cheese that it's triggered my lactose intolerance.
Personality makes people choose the same choice over and over again, so fate sometimes is a reflection of their own personality, hence karma. See?
That's deep.
Oh, yeah.
Very nice.
Very
well
nice.
said.
Okay, cheese for the rest of... Okay, now here's another one. You have a son, obviously, but if you had a daughter, what would you have named her?
Julianne Chu says yes, cheese. Originally I was thinking about the name Chloe because I like what it means. It means young green sprout, like a budding
Wait, what?
plant.
Wait,
Young
Chloe?
green sprout. Chloe with a C. I know, but now everybody thinks of Khloe Kardashian with a K.
No, they're like no. I know. I think of Chloe with a C, but
good.
it means young budding sprout.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the name, but I mean, I like the meaning, but now I don't like how it's so closely associated.
All right. Here's a little more in depth of one more question.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
You're on a date
Okay.
with and this in this scenario you're not married. You're not married to your husband. Just
Wipe out the ring.
just to
Okay.
You're on a date
Okay.
with Mr. Chris Pine.
What? Oh,
Okay.
that's my weakness.
So it's a
That's
very
not fair,
high-end
Leslie.
restaurant. It's a nice
Okay.
steakhouse.
Okay.
But you want to give him a good impression, so you
Okay.
got to think about what you're gonna buy. He's paying, of
I'm
course.
ordering a steak. I don't have to think about it. What? I'm ordering a darn steak.
Okay.
Okay, I almost said snake. It's gonna be a steak. It's not gonna be a huge steak because I won't be able to finish it. But it's gonna be like 6 to 8 ounces. Like I
Okay.
even know exactly how 6 to 8 ounces.
I should have given you a menu like garlic butter, pasta,
Probably not
like
garlic
Dorito flavored.
Oh, Dorito flavored.
Yeah, but like that stuff is gonna, or like barbecue ribs.
Oh no, barbecue ribs is too messy.
Exactly. See,
Yeah,
it's like, but
I would totally order
but the
steak.
pasta is gonna make you. The garlic pasta is gonna, right? It's the breath.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you
Well,
got to think
but
about this
that's-
stuff.
okay.
And the cheese at the same time. The
Nothing's
cheese.
gonna stop me from eating cheese. Not
Okay.
even Chris Pine.
Buyer asks, what does Nancy stand for? He's asking, obviously, when we said Chloe meant budding green
Actually,
sprout.
apparently Nancy is a shortened or an abbreviated form of Hannah. I don't know why. I looked it up before. And Nancy also has an archaic meaning, like an old-timey meaning,
Yeah.
and it is for effeminate boy. No, I'm
And there
serious.
you have it, the 3 questions.
My parents did
for-
not think this through.
The 3 questions for me and Nancy and to you guys. We remember, guys, just a few reminders for the news today. Remember, Yilan County, 6 people have already drowned. So be careful if you're planning on going near rivers.
Yes.
Be careful if you think about going near the beach. What's going to happen is you never think it's going to happen to you, but it's just like Nancy said, it needs to happen once.
Yeah.
And
be aware.
if
be
you have
very
any friends
careful.
over in Japan right now, they're going through the worst typhoon in about 20 years. So be on top of that. We'll be back again Thursday with
That's
more
right.
news and maybe
With
more
Leslie's rainbow shirt.
and maybe more questions. I'm not wearing that shirt. I bought that shirt like 10 years ago.